Hi, I'm Tim, and welcome to Watch You Want. Thanks for logging on. Today, we're looking at one of Rolex's all-time greats. You're looking at the Rolex Oyster Perpetual Datejust, latest reference 116254. This is a combination of stainless steel and white gold, 36 millimeters. This just might be the all-time most important Rolex reference that's ever. Originally released in 1945, it's been a favorite of important, prominent, historic people from Chuck Yeager to Winston Churchill, everyone in between and since. This watch is arguably Rolex's best two-way player. Part dress watch, part sports watch, and this 116254 packs a little bit of each. So we're going to basically deconstruct this watch, take it apart conceptually, look at what makes this particular reference 116254 special, talk a little bit about the Datejust generally, because you may not know it, but if Patek Philippe and Vacheron were the stars of 2014's birthday calendar, you're looking at the #1 birthday boy of 2015. That's right, I mentioned 1945, the debut year for the Datejust. The Datejust is 70 as of 2015, and this March, Baselworld is going to be one long celebration of the history and heritage and impact of what might be the most important luxury watch reference of them all. So let's start with the fit. I always like to show a wrist shot, and usually that's because the watches that we sell here at Watch You Want are big, burly sports watches. So I want to show how they fit on an average size to smaller wrist like my own, 6 1/3, 16 centimeters for our friends using the metric system. In the case of the Datejust, you're actually talking about a smaller watch by modern standards, traditionally sized at 36 millimeters. It's very discreet. It's a very smart look, traditional in scale. It wears full with a lot of presence for two specific reasons. The first is the Rolex system of flared lugs. Now, Rolex really accentuates that oyster case to add virtual size to this watch. Between the narrowest points, this is a 36 millimeter watch, but you could see plainly between most points of the lugs diagonally, this is going to be much larger than 36, even larger than 40 at some parts. And because it has integrated solid end links with the Oyster, the sportier of the two bracelets available with these Datejust watches, it really reads as a much larger sports watch. It's got a lot of metal. It has a complex, contrasting finish that adds visual interest. You can see those polished center links, and you can see the brushed and polished outer links. Polished on their flanks, brushed on the tops of their shoulders. And you see that pattern on the conforming end links as well. Now the case is a big, blocky oyster shape. That gives it a sports watch presence. That gives it a lot of body, a lot of volume. It gives it a square-shouldered look that prevents it from ever appearing dainty. But at the same time, you have the fluted 18-karat white gold bezel to add elegance as you transition from that burly sports watch case form to the delicate refinement of this dial. And this dial is a gem. So now you've seen how it looks on the wrist, and I can tell you that it feels just as good. This is a great fit for wrists of just about any size. But what I can tell you about the dial is that it really is the highlight of this particular bimetallic stainless steel and white gold 116254 Datejust. Now let me see if I can do anything with my camera lights over here. Nah, that's not quite doing it. The bottom line is that I want to show you the depth of the blue on this dial. And I feel like the only way you're going to get the most out of it is to check out the photos on our website, Watch You Want. In high resolution, even 1080p on YouTube isn't going to do justice to the Soleil sunburst metallic dial. It's not lacquered, it's not a gloss, it is a metallic, and it has a grain to it that radiates outward from the cannon pinions at the junction of the hands, and this really just has an explosive outward flowing form that flows into the stick indexes, that flows into the chapter ring, that railroad track chapter ring, and outward into the fluted bezel. And again, just that outward striation increases the impression of size and presence, and this one has a life of its own in the light. And I can't overemphasize that. It's not just that sunburst dial, which makes this a spectacular one to look at in sunlight. It's also the applied white gold indexes, the white gold hands, and the fact that this is a interesting two-tone dial treatment with that blue and then the white gold, the white of the text, the white of the luminova, and that gorgeous 5-point Rolex coronet. You also have an interesting treatment of the railroad. Now, the sector or railroad chapter ring is a feature of some of the more traditional Rolex dials. This one's an interesting hybrid because you have both that almost avant-garde use of explosive grained metal almost iridescent. You then have that sober, gentle, almost delicate white train track around the edge, that railroad pattern with inset Roman numerals, almost too subtle to see. Each index actually has a small white Roman numeral outboard of it within the sector chapter ring. Very beautiful, very subtle. It's the kind of watch that rewards repeat viewing and close viewing. But this watch has more to it than subtlety. As I showed on the wrist, it has tremendous impact, and it's that classical enduring style that's made the Datejust a fixture in the Rolex catalog. Like I said, this is a two-way player. This is the kind of watch you never have to take off. A big reason for that is that it has all of the features of a sports watch. It's water resistant to 100 meters. It's burly. It's shock protected. With Rolex's proprietary Parachrom blue hairspring, it's extensively anti-magnetic. It's thermally resistant. And the caliber 3135 in the watch is exactly what you would get in a Submariner. It's exactly what you would get in a Sea Dweller. So you've got that sports watch toughness inherent within the movement. It doesn't just talk a good game, it plays a good game. COSC chronometer certified. You know that 2 weeks of independent observation have verified the chronometric precision of this watch, but Rolex goes one better and makes sure that the watch still meets COSC specs after it's cased up back at the factory. So not only does this watch meet the COSC standard, it exceeds them, because Rolex is one of the few manufacturers that continues to check for COSC timing standards once the movement has had its permanent crown fitted, been cased up and sealed, and that's a rare final measure that surprisingly few watchmakers take. Of course, Rolex manufactures everything in the watch. From the 18-karat white gold of the bezel, when you see fluted bezels on a Rolex, you know that at the very least, that bezel contains precious metal. So you have that fluted 18-karat white gold bezel on the Rolex. Rolex now uses a homogeneous white gold blend that they make themselves. That means it's white straight through. There's no milky yellow, quote, white gold inside it, hiding from view under a rhodium plating. This cannot wear through and show a different color underneath. It's this color straight through, made in Rolex's own foundry. That's how they ensure a standard of quality that no one else can match. And the same is true of the steel. The steel of the case, the end links, the bracelet, and the full milled clasp, which by the way is very sturdy. All of that is Rolex's own 904L steel. Holds a polish, holds a brushed finish better than the standard 316 used by the industry. It's more durable, it's harder, it's of a higher quality, and that's the standard you get with Rolex. It's a refinement you may never notice if you weren't told about it, but it's the kind of qualitative difference that sets a Rolex apart. It's the kind of thing you can only do if you own all the means of production, including the metallurgy, and that's what Rolex brings to the table. Now, I do want to mention that today, with all solid links, solid end links, and the new milled Oyster clasp, Rolex gives you a standard of bracelet and clasp quality befitting the Rolex name and the Rolex reputation. It used to be that these pieces were a little bit flimsy. Now that was pre-2005. Since 2005, the Datejust feels like a rock. Just like the Submariners, just like the Sea Dwellers. Solid everything, milled out clasp from a single piece of steel, and you get the 5mm tool-free adjustment of the Easy Link, so you can adjust your bracelet tool-free as your wrist expands or contracts with exertion or different weather. It's a fantastic piece. It feels as good as this watch looks. And the bottom line is, as a package, this watch looks even better. Available from watchyouwant.com, 100% complete. It still features factory stickers and factory plastic coatings, having been purchased only in January of 2015. This one's ready to celebrate the Datejust birthday bash at Basel. With complete factory warranty protection, everything you would receive at the Rolex authorized dealer is available and included with this Rolex Datejust white gold stainless steel 116254. Check it out on our website and get ready to crash the biggest birthday bash of 2015. Check that. Get ready to party like it's 1945.